Hello, everybody. Welcome back to New York Talk. This is the Rotherham United podcast. Thank you all for being with us on a Wednesday night. Stupid. Thanks very much, Sky Sports. But yeah, we're going to go through tomorrow and the visit of the league leaders, Bradford City. We'll go from there. Tom's back. How are you going, Tom?
Yeah, glad to be back. Just a shame that it's in what should I say, in substitute of Mick. So I'll take on his just roles for tonight.
I've heard he's scared of all abuse he's getting, mate. That's what I've heard.
Yeah, he's gone hiding. He's gone hiding.
Gone away. Danny's back. How you doing, Danny?
I'm not too bad. I'm back at home for this one, lad. So I'm surrounded by Rotherham shirts instead of old stools and A boards. So yeah, happy to be back.
Back-to-back episodes, Danny. In fact, if you count the instant reaction, it's 3 episodes in a row. When last time that happened?
I know. I've got better form than Rotherham this season by the looks of it. I can stay positive for 3 appearances in a row.
Yeah.
So we'll go through what we can tonight. We'll try to always put a positive spin on things if we can. We obviously won't be able to, but we'll see what happens on the show tonight. Tom, obviously you weren't with us on Sunday. I know you worked and missed most of the second half, but just kind of give us and everybody in the comments your kind of rundown on what is now 3 bad performances in a row now.
Yeah. Oh no, I watched it back. I was at the Wimbledon game. I mean, it's just same every time you watch us, and it's you can't even call. I mean, you can call it a decent, 20 minutes or whatever. But something happens, another team ups an ante or changes formation, tactics, whatever, and just goes into a second gear, and we've got no idea on how to truly combat it and really do anything about it. As soon as a team steps up against us, we've got nothing towards them. So it's frustrating to watch us at the minute, and not even because we're that bad, because we are bad. Let's not get it wrong, but because that there's so much more to come from that team, and that they should be performing so much better than they are. And 1 thing, 2 things, 3 things go wrong, and their heads go down, and there's no fight, there's no desire, and it's sad to watch at times. I rewatched the second half. I was busy at work for the second half at the time, but I rewatched it back to my amusement, because when you know the result, it's just funnier to watch. And it's so bad. It's so bad. There's no quality in the game. We're losing against Mansfield and Wimbledon, and I mean, Stockport were okay, but not great. But Mansfield and Wimbledon in particular are 2 teams that were down on their luck. Really poor teams. Whether they are in the season, I don't know. But against us, they were really poor. And we don't win against them. And if we don't win against those teams, then who do you win against? Because now you're playing top of the league tomorrow. And I know Bradford came up last season, so you'd argue that they're not. Maybe top of the league is. I've not watched them this season, so maybe top of the league is deserved. Maybe it's not. But you're playing top of the league, and it's going to be it's not going to get easier, is it? So it's just utter disappointment, and because it can be so much better than it is.
Yeah. There's other comment. Martin Holland's with us as a YouTube user. Terra Fember says, evening, happy Wednesday, in Hammy we trust. Stop doubting you. Tom Swift with us. Darren Cook said, evening all, fear the worst for tomorrow. Tom Swift said, evening all, we will need a good positive vocal back in tomorrow night, something that's been missing. Chris Sanders says, evening all. Anybody else absolutely dreading the game, dreading this time tomorrow? Harry says, evening, a Thursday night game. Great news, because it means Rotherham can't ruin my weekend. That is true. I didn't think of that. Very good. Steve mixed with as is Phil. Paul this evening, assume we're going to get pecked by the chickens tomorrow. Steve's with us, Kelly Bobs. Jeff Bob says, upon a positive, at least we aren't rock bottom. We will come to that. I thought about this on the game Saturday, Danny, and I forgot to mention this on the show Sunday. I sat there watching the game, and it felt like at times watching a youth game from us, in the sense that what we sometimes play a little bit of pretty tidy football, and we keep the ball pretty nicely. But then, like Tom mentions, as soon as the other team treat it like a man's game, like a grown-up, like a professional game of football, it's like we don't really know what to do with it. So it just, I can't remember what point of the game it was, but I just felt, well, we're just playing like a youth team. It was really weird, and it's not the first time I've thought of this season. I know we've got a team full of kids, but you should know by now that it's a grown-ups game. This.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting point. I've not thought about that, to be fair. But now that you mention it, we seem to get overexcited that we've gone in front, and then it sort of just disintegrates from there. But that's raised the question in my head: when's the last time we had to have a complete overhaul after one season and hit the ground running straight away, especially bringing youth back into a team as an important factor as well? You could argue after the 16-17 absolute disaster in the championship, but then a few other players stuck around and we were able to go back up again. So I don't know, that could be something to think about in future for sure. The only thing I do know is we need to fix it sooner rather than later. We can't carry on just throwing away games like that. I mean, football in its simplest form is outscoring the opposition and winning the match. But if we score one goal, we somehow let the other team score two, which is like, no, that's not how it works. You know, we need to learn how to defend those situations better, but also improve our mentality towards the second half. I mean, I said on the post-match and on Sunday's show, whatever I'm sure says to him at half time, if he's saying we need to hang on for 10 minutes, we need to bump it back to 20. Now, bump it back to not conceding 20 minutes into the first half, we might actually get a draw out of the game rather than losing 2-1. But, you know, you say about Bradford being top of the league, they do have a dodgy result in them. I mean, they lost 3-1 at Doncaster, and they were very confident for that game. We had a few of them in town for that one, thinking, yeah, we're going to turn over Doncaster here. And then I saw it coming through on the telly, and Doncaster won 3-1 because absolutely pummeled in the second half. So, I don't know, maybe they have a result in them. But thinking back on things, a lot of people saying they're absolutely dreading tomorrow. I agree. Last time we all had that mentality, we somehow won 1-0 at Sheffield United. And I think they were top of the league all that way on at the time as well. So stranger things have happened, and I think that's the only positive aspect we'll get from tonight, because the rest of the way we play football and how we're going to approach the game may make my toes curl a little bit, because I'm not looking forward to tomorrow at all.
No, none of us are. Let's just dive into it. Some of these comments, Tom, because that's where we are in life. We'll talk about team news. But Shelley says, how long should we give Matt Hamshaw? Richardson was given the game after given 24 games and given the boot. To be fair, they've both given about the same backing as well from the chairman, which was basically 0. Tom Swift says 5 more games. He thinks before it's too late. Chris Anderson, I like this one. I nominate Mick to do not cutting hair until Miller's been 5 games in a row. I'm a big fan of that. I think. Full Mad says he thinks it'll be the Barnsley game. Shelley says, why wait till the Barnsley game? We lose tomorrow. It could be a fair few points adrift. Come our next game. We had a comment here. Alex James. This is just the one season issue. There are deep issues that are deep rooted now. It cannot be the manager's fault every season. The club is run on an even footing, but it is so amateur. Turbo says Hamshaw needs to be gone. He will be tomorrow. So I make no mistake about it. Please put this out. Having said all that, the IFC put a poll up earlier, the voice of reason on social media, and it's something like 75% saying that they wouldn't sack Matt Hamshaw as of now. Where do you sit on all this and the history and the future? And it just feels a bit of a mess 9 games in that we're essentially arguing with each other again.
Yeah, and it's never gonna stop, and I think everyone just has to accept that, because football is about differing opinions and whatnot. So in that regard, it's fine. But on my personal opinions of Matt Hamshaw, I mean, look, he's a clearly talented coach, which hasn't replicated into his management. Because as Danny said, then what does he tell him at halftime in regards to going out on the pitch and whatnot? But what does he say at halftime? Because I can't think of one half where we've played better in the second half than the first half. There's just been no case of a change of mentality or a winning mentality or a leadership within that sort of that team. And you can argue Rafferty maybe is the only one, but even he's not a leader. He's someone who leads by example. He's not someone who demands more. He's someone who's just there and gets involved and all this. And you look at that game against Mansfield and you think who is on that pitch who's a leader, and no one. And then inevitably all your players turn to the manager, and you look at Matt Hamshaw and you think, I don't know if he has it in him to be that leader that they need. And not every manager needs to be that sort of shouty, screaming in their faces and all that. And that's not his typical style, and that's fine. But for me, it's the stubbornness to not change tactics. We spoke about it before, where he just looks lost in some games, where we keep changing things when it doesn't go our way, even though we don't change it at the start of a game. It's only during a game. To me, it just screams like, would I get rid of him? I don't know, but who would I get in again? I don't know. There's that you lack so many options nowadays in the managers market, because if we sack another manager, it's 4 managers in 3 years gone. You're not exactly you're the club of death, and I think it just spirals more and more. Whereas, you can't keep going on as is. Without a change. And look, we criticised Evans for it, and rightfully so. He deserved to go because he kept doing things again and again, and it never worked. And he kept doing it again and again and again. And it ended up with his sacking. But for me, I unless Matt Hamshaw changes something, unless he changes tactics, unless he changes his way of managing, this team is, in my opinion, looking like the worst team in the division, and that shouldn't be the case, because if you look at the players that we have and the pedigree of the players, if you look at Sam Nombe and as being one of the best forwards in the division, arguably, and Dan Gore put in some performances which championship clubs would turn their head on and like him in their squad. You've got some of the better players in the league, and that's just factual. If you watch them play, then people would see that. But I don't know. I think I said this in our group chat the other day. I don't know what's wrong. So why can I sit there and say that the manager's wrong, if that makes sense? I just don't understand the where we go wrong and how we get better, and who we get in if we do get rid of him. So I'm pretty just the unknown. It's such an unknown. I'm neither for nor against. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But something needs to change.
Something needs to change. To Tom Swift, his stubbornness is what will cost him as he persists with the system. Teams have us figured out. Turbo says we do need to be honest. I don't know what it gains us from sacking him, Danny. And this is the big picture. That if we say, right, okay, Matt Hamshaw's been rubbish, let's get rid. Okay, what next? You've got Tony Stewart who's half-assing everything at the minute. Do you trust him to get another manager in? Not one of us trust him to get another manager in. Not one of us. So then when he gets another manager in, who's probably not going to be on much money, we're all going to have these conversations again in January. And then when he's rubbish, we're going to have these same conversations again in August. It's a cycle that we're in at the minute. And I don't get... I'm just not seeing it at the minute. I understand people's frustration. Do we want to be one of those clubs? Do we want to be one of those stupid clubs that when Crawley went through loads of managers in League Two and we're just in a disaster cycle? We're just getting that cycle again. I'm not saying Hamshaw's perfect. He's certainly not perfect. He's got so much issues, but the issues are bigger than Matt Hamshaw at the minute. So much bigger.
No, I agree. I mean, if we carry on that trend of all his managers not doing well, it's not working, sack him, wait 3 weeks to get another manager in, leave him until the next transfer window. Oh, he's not doing very good. Right, let's bring somebody else in. We're in danger of turning into Watford. And I think Watford have got some silly stat where they had more managers in 18 months than Liverpool had in their entire history. So it was something silly like that. It might have been 2 years. But we are still, I believe, we might have just finished paying off Matt Taylor's contract because he got to get the job at Bristol Rovers.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
We'll still be paying off Liam Richardson. We'll still be paying off Steve Evans. So that says to you, right, that's why we've got a reduced budget, and arguably we went for the cheap option in Matt, I'm sure, as well. But then that'd be somebody else that we're paying off, plus his backroom team if they don't find anybody else. Then you have to look for a manager who's actually willing to take on the job. And I think we said this on Sunday's show, the managers that everyone's earmarked on social media are in quite cushy positions in their own teams anyway. The main name that got knocked around was Dave Artell. He's not leaving Grimsby anytime soon. He's in last 16 of the Carabao Cup. He's doing very well in the league with them and has the potential of getting promoted this season. He's not going to come to lowly Rotherham in League One, even though he is a Rotherham lad. I personally think we shouldn't have pulled the trigger as quickly with Liam Richardson as we did. That was I want
to bring my best mate in the way. That one I want to bring Evans in. Again, that's another Tony Stewart masterclass, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. He wanted to bring his mate in as a bit of a last hurrah. I mean, we saw the whole debacle about, if we sell 7,000 season tickets, I'll buy everyone a round in Cutlers, and it didn't happen. Bigged up the entire season and it fell flat on its face. At least Matt Hampshire has been realistic and said don't think this season is going to be successful. I mean, I don't think any of us thought we'd be 23rd at this point in the season as a bad season, but at least he's a realist and he said, just give me time. And I know a lot of people are now saying how much time is too much time, how much time should we give him, but we need to break the cycle of just going, he's not doing very good, let's get rid of him. You don't run a successful business, which a lot of football clubs are now. They are business entities. You don't run a successful business by sacking a manager every 3-4 months to see if it'll get better. All right, there's an argument to say you bring in a good manager in the first place, but we aren't in a financial position to do that. We're in a financial position to get Nathan Jones after I believe it was when we last Paul Warren or Matt Taylor that Nathan Jones came and watched him.
Taylor.
Yeah, and he just went, nah, not doing that. So that was his reaction to it. And then we had Wayne Carlisle for ages as well, who actually did quite well given the circumstances.
Did better than most.
Yeah, exactly. So is Matt Hampshire having a bad run of things? Yes, he is. And at some other clubs, especially in the Championship, he would be gone by now straight away. But at least our board haven't made the silly option like Sheffield United did by sacking Wilder, bringing him in, then sacking him after, 7 games, and then bringing Wilder in, and they are still poor as well. They've won once. But no, I mean, I like Matt Taylor as a guy. I've met him a few times. Maybe that's rose-tinted glasses looking at the situation, but I'm with Matt Hampshire when he says give him time. Yeah, give him time. Give him time. And if we keep trying to put square pegs in round holes, he needs to look at himself and change it, or the board will change it. Or maybe the board will change first. Who knows? That could be a bet we could run. What's going to change first, the manager or the board?
Well, we will. Great question. He's made mistakes, hasn't he? Does anyone think Matt Hammy bringing in his own coaches when we really need some experienced coaches? If he isn't going to club, he's looking at bringing all them to support him. He's made mistakes, hasn't he? Let's be right about it, Tom. With the benefit of 9 games with a hindsight, we probably should have brought in a more experienced coach than Woody. I think it's great having Woody around, but I think we needed that experienced coach in there. I think Dale Tong is obviously very good at what he does because he's done it previously and been very good. But maybe we're just that one edge short of a different idea, who can maybe persuade a change in formation, or is he right to stick to his guns? He thinks it's the right formation. He thinks it's right. Should he not stick to that?
I mean, I mean, the coaching thing is, again, in hindsight, pretty bad, isn't it? Because you bring in managers who, you bring in Wood, who has no coaching experience, not even finished his badges. You bring in Dale Tong, who doesn't have any assistant manager experience, and you sort of think, where is the experience coming from? And maybe we're paying the price for it now because, I mean, look, I'm not experienced enough in the world of football to know why he's doing what he's doing, but to play a 3 at the back, and I know Mick gets really annoyed by when we talk about formations, so thank God he's not.
Mick's just switching off now. Mick and
Steve. Playing 3 at the back is genuinely suicide. I don't know why the hell we do it, because in that Mansfield game, we were so open so many times between the 3 centre halves that you change it every week because fine, your injuries, whatever, but you change it every week, and therefore you have three three new pairings each time you play. And it's not like you have three new pairings of, three centre halves that have played there their whole careers. You have three pairings of players that have never played that formation before in their lives. Some of them are even fullbacks playing there. Rafferty and James sometimes play there. And Rafferty and James have ironically been two of the fitter players in the squad this season. So why can't you play a back four and just shore it up at the back? When you go through a period like this, you should be tough to beat, and then go. You've got 6 strikers, however many ridiculous amount of number of strikers that we have on, injured. You should just be hard to beat, and we're so easy to beat. Teams must absolutely love playing against us because we're so open. So easy to get in behind, so easy to get in between the lines, so easy to get out wide because of a lack of pace out wide. This formation works to no end. It doesn't work at all. And yes, you can say it's due to injuries and players not playing in the right positions. But as a football manager, you've got to deal with injuries and you've got to deal with uncertainties. And for me, he had to admit defeat 4 or 5 games ago when we looked really, really, really crap. The only time that we looked good this season was when we changed to a 4-back against Exeter, and we had 2 solid centre halves there, albeit Thomas Holmes is now injured. You could easily swap him out now for any of the other 3 centre-backs that we have. And we played with width, and Coletta and Hall looked direct. Gore pulled the strings in a defensive midfield role. How Drew Yearwood doesn't get a look in is beyond me, because I think he's probably our second best midfielder behind Gore. I think he's done absolutely nothing wrong, other than he's maybe nursing something that's potentially the only thing. But some decisions that have been made alongside long-term decisions like coaching staff, some decisions where, you play tactically and you're so stubborn in, if it's going to work, it's going to work, it's got to work. It feels kind of hopeless at this point. And each time I see the lineup, I'm looking for that 2 fullbacks, 2 centre halves, and I keep getting tricked into it by seeing 2 centre backs, 2 fullbacks, and then seeing a winger play out of position or seeing a fullback play out of position. And it shows when we play, because these players aren't playing in their positions that they played in their whole careers. They're just, they look nervous. They look like they don't know what they're doing. They look almost scared. I don't know what it is, but again, it's not working. And losing in the whoever you lose against is bad, right? But to lose in the last seconds of a game is just pure mentality and pure just a kick in the gut and kick in the shin. I'm frustrated. Yeah, it's so frustrating to. And again, I know that I'm no football expert, so someone can come and correct me with this, with stats, whatever. But I've watched every game this season, and at no point have I ever thought that this 5 at the back looks comfortable, assured, good attacking, good defensively. We look so exposed in this formation with the lack of players and the lack of cohesion. I don't understand it. Just switch to a 4-back, play James and Rafferty either side, and play 2 centre halves who have played there their whole lives, and then you've got a 4-back that is at least solid. And then you put whoever you want above there. Just make yourselves hard to beat, and then you can get a bit of momentum and a bit of motivation, a bit of belief, and then before you know it, your attackers are starting, your Powells are starting to play better, because they know that if they lose the ball, then they're not going to concede straight from it. And your Gores are allowed to play a little bit higher. Your winger, Coletta can really get at a player. Martha is one of the worst performers this season, and you just know he's not as well. He's probably our best player if he's, technical ability wise, and you just need to absolutely get him playing better. I'd change it completely. And yeah, I don't know why it hasn't happened, and that's the frustrating aspect as well.
Yeah, you got a big new fan. Nathan says, "Well said, Tom." Twice.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, let me play devil's advocate, Danny. I did say this a few weeks back. I mean it less now, but if Bathamshaw thinks this is the right formation and right setup for these players, for the most part, is he not right to stick by it? If this is what he wants his team to do, and he thinks that Lenny has to play this position, if Denzel Hall has to play that position, if Joe Powell does this, should he not stick by his guns?
When we have the players available, yes. When we don't have the players available, you should play to the best of your abilities. And I believe that's not what we've been doing over the last 3-4 games. All right, maybe for the Exeter game, because we had Thomas Holmes and we had a recognised senior centre half in there, and funnily enough, we won. But when you don't have that, you have to play for the strengths in your team, whether that is bringing pace in where you can, shoring up the back line, dropping an attacker so you can actually play with an extra defender or midfielder, etc., etc. And I think that's the infuriating bit, because that's where the whole square pegging round holes comes into it. Currently, we do have the square pegs because the round holes are injured. You know what I mean? But then I don't entirely put that to Matt Hampshire. I'm going to possibly come in for a bit of stick to this, but I think that's down to his coaching team as well. Because you know how, I mean, this is just in my time. I'm sure there are other examples of this in Rotherham's history. Paul Warne and Richie Barker always used to argue about stuff. You know what I mean? They always used to argue about stuff, get on each other's nerves, but it was a relationship that worked. You know what I mean? You
need that friction. You need that friction for a spark, don't you?
Exactly. It's like, is Dale Tong arguing with Matt Hampshire, saying, no, we need to do this because that won't work? Or are they just trying to support Matt Hampshire through this rough spell? You know what I mean? I mean, Dale Tong should know how to be an assistant manager, because he's done it at 2 clubs before us and had a lot of success at Barnsley and Peterborough. And he was at Peterborough for 3 years before coming to us. I mean, Christ, we had to pay Peterborough to get him. So if he's not in Matt Hampshire's ear going, it's not working, we need to change something, because Matt Hampshire isn't just managing the football side of things, he's managing the football team and the entity around it. That's why he's a manager and not a head coach. Because when we got Liam Richardson in, he was head coach, and then we bumped up Rod Scott to director of football, didn't we? Which didn't work in the slightest. And so it old ways, and that's where we are now. So I wonder if you can put part of it to Dale Tong and Richard Woods by saying, yes, we are coaching them to do this, but it's not going to work, because that's why you have an assistant manager, to assist the manager in some stuff, and to identify when something isn't working, and just have that quiet word of, I think we should change this, gaffer, it's not working. Maybe we see that, maybe we don't, who knows, we'll have to wait and see. But it's not just Matt Hampshire who isn't doing his job properly, if that makes sense. If you look at the results, he's not doing his job properly, because it's for us to improve and actually finish well in the league. In that regards, he's being too stubborn and not doing his job properly. But it's not just him. It could be Dale Tong just going, not being forceful enough. That's the way to put it. So, yeah, devil's advocate, if he had the players available and he stuck at his system and then it doesn't work, then yeah, he needs to change it straight away. But because he hasn't got the ability to play his system with the players he's got, he has to change to support that. You know, we're bolstered by a couple of players coming back now, yeah, sure. But we won't have the pace up top because Nombe's only just back on the grass. So you need to find pace elsewhere. Is that playing with more out-and-out wingers? Is it playing with 3 up top? We don't know, because we've not seen it properly. His stubbornness, God love him, his stubbornness could be the downfall of his first management job.
Yeah, I agree. Let me throw this one in at you, Tom. From somebody else says, not time to place to make these crucial moments, but it was referring to other games where we've not been that far off. He mentions the miss at Williams, miss at Barnsley, Spencer's miss at Wimbledon. He mentions a chance at Donny as well. Before these 3 last games, you know, Wimbledon, Stockport, and Mansfield, other than Cardiff, we've been in every single game. We've been competitive in every single one. We haven't been far off in every game, barring the last 3 in the Cardiff game. But that's what's changed, I suppose, is my question, because Tom Holmes was only in for the Exeter game. So it wasn't Tom Holmes that got us close to beating Barnsley and got us close to beating Wigan as well. What's kind of changed? Because these last 3 games, particularly, you can't really pick out anything positive. But before that, you could always pick out a few bits, couldn't you?
Well, yeah. When you say it's the last 2 games, isn't it? And even against Mansfield, we had Benson's underside of the bar, and if that goes in, it's a different story. True. And it's 2-0, and that could be completely different. And it's super fine margins. But I mean, it was a penalty that wasn't a penalty, and it was a free kick that wasn't. It was a free kick, but it was a good effort. You know, it's these moments of quality in games, which was just referred to there with these chances. The Spence chance was a moment of quality from Dan Gore to find McWilliams, who we should have scored from. McWilliams' chance against Barnsley, I think, was something similar. It's not like these are moments of quality as opposed to unrelenting pressure, and then eventually you get in. Those chances are the only ones of the game, alongside the ones that you score. So you make 2 chances in a half, and you score 1, and you miss another, and you talk about the other chance because it was such a close chance, and on another day it flies in, and that's all good and well, and you go on to win the game. And we could be sat here talking about, that win against Wigan, if Paul Mullen didn't score late on, a potential win against Burton if that didn't get delayed 3 years, and then a potential win against Wimbledon if we didn't crumble in the second half. So you're looking at an extra, potentially 7 points or whatever, 8 points, and then you're looking completely different. But at the same time, in those games, you had moments of quality where we looked like a side that is where the benchmark should be. And the game against Exeter wasn't great. I don't, looking back on it now, it wasn't like an amazing performance, but it's a performance which was solid, got the win, kept a clean sheet. We looked like we didn't look in distress at any point. And it was a game that, you sort of, and in a season where we've gone on to finish second, whatever, get automatics, it was a game that you wouldn't look back on twice, because it would have been another one of those games where it was comfortable, it was fine, you just look better than the opposition, and you get your just rewards. Whereas now we're nitpicking at moments of quality where the team is that good. I mean, there's some chances against Mansfield where those first 10 minutes, if we didn't score, we would have been robbed, because frankly, we were too good for them in those first 10, 15 minutes. But again, it happens where that team just shifts. They go up a gear, they increase the intensity. Like you say, they just play a man's game. They get into your face, they increase the intensity, they run harder, they support their mates on overlaps and through middles, and they run off the ball, they run on the ball. And we just don't know how to match it. We whether it's a mentality thing or it's, I don't know what it is. Psychologically can't match it, physically can't match it, technically can't match it. We just don't do it, and that's what happens. And then that team doesn't have to do a lot to score against us. And then before you know it, our heads are in the sand, and we don't know how to react. And that happens time and time again. It's getting worse because of psychological reasons. You just said that we brought in, every how many players did we bring in? 11, 12, all of which were under the age of 25, all of which with probably about 200 career appearances between them. And Thomas Holmes probably makes up 120 of them. So it's something where those players are not going to react how players of our old time would have. And I don't know how to change it. If I did, I'd be a football manager, but I don't think Hamshaw knows how to change it either. And I think that's the worry, is that I think we're going to keep getting worse with this reliability on Sam Nombe, to be a sort of saviour for Rotherham United. But, he scored twice against Port Vale and then didn't do anything against Stevenage and got injured. And if he comes back, not the same player as he was, or he has to be nursed back, I think we're in for trouble, because I mean, I know I am relying everything on Sam Nombe, because that's the only way out I see. So I sure hope that my Hamshaw isn't doing the same, because these glimpses of quality need to be prolonged halves, prolonged 60, 70 minutes of quality before we blow out after 60 minutes, because I don't know what happens, but we get fatigued after 60 minutes and we look like we can't play for 30 minutes. So if we don't win, if we don't score 3 in the first 60 minutes, then I'm not sure what we do. But again, it's another one of those situations where I can tell you what's wrong, don't know why it's wrong or how you get it better, but that is what's wrong. We don't look like a cohesive unit. We have moments of quality, and then when a team steps up, we don't know how to match it, and we just absolutely get just brushed over in a game, and that's all it takes. 20 minutes against us, and you get a goal because we're so weak and feeble, and then we don't come back from it.
No, we don't. Craig Miller Ratton says, do we all agree we haven't been able to field our strongest 11 yet? Other than Port Vale, I think that was the only game we've been able to play, and that was probably our best performance until they got a red card. We had another one which I was going to. Mark Gamble says, in my opinion, how you defend from the front, the press has been non-existent since Nombe's injury. With only Hugo, we can't press, it invites pressure. And then we have players, it's a vicious circle from there. Yeah, that brings us on to kind of short-term team news and long-term team news. Let's go for the long-term one first, though, Danny. Sam Nombe is back on grass on Monday. As long as he doesn't have a baby on Monday, because he's another one that's, that's the hat trick of Rotherham players having kids so far this season.
I want to know what happened 9 months ago. Was there something in the water? You know what
I mean? But how much of a difference, and this we don't know this, obviously we're guessing here, but how much difference is Sam Nombe going to make? Because I think Mark's right about the press. That's something that you've got to assume Hampshire wants, because it's what we had massively the time before. And again, he's right. You can't press with Hugo. And then it's so difficult. And to go back to what Tom said about changing Exeter, we were really good against Exeter because Denzel Hall and Cletty were able to press. So then it wasn't on Hugo. So how not necessarily not just for his goals, but for his ability to actually press the opposition as well. Nombe is going to be huge, I think.
Yeah, maybe not straight away, because with a hamstring tear, you definitely has to be eased into it. I think that's why he's just training on his own at the minute to get strength back into his legs. Because it all depends on how bad of a tear his hamstring was. And with the period he's been out, plus rehabilitation, probably a 2A, maybe. So there is quite a clear tear in his hamstring, but it's not completely torn in half, which I think is a grade 3. So yeah, it's going to be a bit of a slog to get Nombe back into the team, and he will have to be eased into it, especially if we're going to use him as a pressing option. But yeah, he's still got the most goals at the club, and he's only played 1 game.
Well, he's joint top scorer. Joint
top scorer, but his return rate's like 200% to a game. So yeah, he's not going to have the immediate impact that people think he's going to have, but he will be a very important player because he will give us a brand new option of being able to play. But like you said there, I think when we get Holmes back, or a better or a more recognised centre half than a lad who's played under 18s football before coming to us, we'll have a bit more security at the back, and then we can play players higher, and then they can press and they can support Hugo, etc., etc. So I think there's a bit of a domino effect there. And yeah, we'll just see how we do in Nombe, and just fingers crossed he doesn't do what I did and tear his other hamstring as soon as he comes back, because that could be an absolute disaster. But I just want to mention something about the quality of teams that we've faced. Yes, they have looked poor against us, especially Wimbledon and Mansfield. But all the teams we've lost to this season in the league so far are all in the top 12.
Oh, really?
They have all had very, very good starts to the season, despite playing quite poorly against us. So you could argue that is down to fine margins. I mean, Bradford's top of the league. I wouldn't have put them top of the league last season because they came up through the playoffs, didn't they?
No, they got
the
final there.
Bradford were 3rd, weren't they? They snuck in there on the last day. I wouldn't have put them top of the league after 10 games this season. Same with Doncaster, they're 10th. I wouldn't put them 10th. But yeah, I mean, the other teams, like we've drawn to Wigan, they're 14th, beat Port Vale, who are 16th, Exeter 18th. So they've had very good starts to the season, and I know it's me trying to be positive as much as I can be, but they've just had better starts to the season than us. They've had better rub of the green, and they've just played us when we're just playing really poorly and haven't got a Scooby what our formation should be. So again, I'm still in the Hampshire camp of they will come good. Whether or not it's with Matt Hampshire, we'll have to wait and see how itchy Stewart is with his trigger finger. But no, I do hope Nombe hits the ground running as quickly as he can, because we need that pressing option, because we look so flat in midfield otherwise. And it's almost like the midfield don't know what to do without the pressing option. It's like, do they drop back and defend, or do they play high, but then they get caught out if they play high, but then they get played round if they sit back. So it's like, it feels like the current system is built around pressing, but we're not pressing, and then it just falls apart. And we just need secure heads in certain places, which is certain places on the pitch and certain places on the bench as well.
Yeah. Robert says the worst team all time at New York. Standard League One is poor. Yeah, New York. Well, Yeah, New York, sorry, because that League Two team got promoted. There's been some worse teams than this prior to that, though.
Are we as bad as 16-17 and what Alan Stubbs left us with?
Yes, because that's some good players in there. What was that midfielder on loan from Ipswich? Or did he go to Ipswich? Adeyemi.
Tom.
He was very, very good. Will Vaux was good. Danny Ward was good. Izzy Brown was good. It was just a toxicity. But there was some good players in there. At the minute, we've got a couple of good players, but you're saying Dan Gore, who's not ours, is quite good. Sam Nombi's injured, quite good. Tom Holmes injured, quite good. But what second bottom League One? It's got to be. It's got to be up there. But like I said, it's the same when people said Premier League area. We've had a lot worse teams than this. And if you haven't seen them, trust me, we've had a lot worse teams than this. Short term though, Tom, Sharif is back in contention. I don't know if he's going to start, but he's certainly back. Which if he starts is great. If he comes off bench, that's great. And Atete, he came on for 20 minutes on Saturday, so you'd assume Atete should be fit enough to start on Thursday. Sorry, that should give us again in terms of the press and the overall thing. I'm sure I know Atete is not clinical, but in terms of a presence and press, he should be better. And if you can get Sheriff on the pitch, that's going to be great if you can create some chances for him as well. So there are positive things coming back from injury. Yeah,
definitely. And I think the reliance on injuries is the worrying thing. But look, these players are going to... I don't actually think Hugo's been that bad when he's been by himself up front. I think he's done a good a job as anyone would have done. But he definitely doesn't have the legs to press. He definitely doesn't have the legs to play more than 60 minutes. So it's good to have other options up there. But Sheriff's still a young kid. I know he scored in his debut, but he's still a young kid. He creates chances for himself, but he needs to be. It's tough to burden that shoulder of goal scorer to him, although he's a confident kid. And I can't imagine him coming straight back into the fold. Atete is a really good striker. I really like him, but again, he's not a goal scorer. We've seen it quite clearly that he's not a goal scorer. He just doesn't have that clinical nature to him. But he causes issues. He's got a great touch and good link-up play. I just hope that we play with players that can surround him, because for me, you're looking at that forward line against Bradford, and I play Martha and Hall either side of Atete, and you've got a front three there where you can cause problems whilst also keeping width and keeping pace and directness. And I just think that works better in my opinion, but I don't know. I can see him trying to start with the Atete, not Hugo up front, which looked good for 15 minutes against Exeter. But I'm still pretty. I'm not entirely convinced on Atete. I think he's a player who will come in and play 1-2 games and then be out for 2-3 games. So. I wouldn't put all my money on him playing tomorrow and then playing against Northampton a week later, to say the least. But he's a fantastic player when he plays, just not a goal scorer. We need someone around him who can score goals, and it's not Hugo either, unfortunately. I know he scored 2 in 3, but which is mad. But he's not a goal scorer in and of himself, but he causes issues. We need more people to start pitching in with goals. I think that's sensibly put. That's sensible.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, absolutely is. Let's move on to the midfield, Danny. We talked about this last week, and I'm sure we'll talk about it next week, because he seems to be persisting with Joe Powell at the minute. And it gets to a point, he said that, we talked about this on Sunday about him saying that you've got to play players through these kind of things. It gets to a point where you need to take him out of the firing line, because if he plays badly on Thursday, us as a podcast and other people are having the same conversation next week as, why is Powell playing? So then it just puts more pressure on Joe Powell. It becomes a point of, right, okay, let's just take Powell out. And I agree with Tom, put Yearwood in, or whatever else, because Yearwood is a good miss. But we are getting to that point where you need to drop Powell just for its own protection almost.
I think if we had a quote for Matt Amshaw's management this season so far, it would be square pegs in round holes, because it's another thing with Joe Powell, because it's like with the formation, when he doesn't have the players to play the system, you need to change it. You need to put your arm around him and manage him properly and just go, look, son, you're not playing well at the minute. We're going to swap you out, bring somebody else in, work on it on the training ground, and when you've got your form back, straight back in. And then he'll have the motivation to carry on and actually work on what he's doing wrong and then work his way back into the team. But you need to have the cutthroatness as a manager to change your team when someone's a weak link, because you're only as strong as your weakest link in football, and there are plenty in our team at the minute, unfortunately. But Joe Powell is the one that sticks out because, like you say, he's come under fire from fans, from both Rotherham podcasts and from the advertiser to a point, because they're asking the question directly to him, I'm sure, about it. And it's got to the point now where I think for his own safety, you need to swap him out. Play Yearwood, play Spence Benson and Co. Just swap it. Keep him on the bench to have an option. And you never know, if we bring him on later in a game, he might have his head in the right motivated place and he has a cracking game and he scores, or he delivers an absolute cracking assist or set piece or whatever. But to persist with starting him when he's clearly on the wrong side of form is, it's definition of insanity. You do the same thing again, hoping it will change, when actually you should just change it. And Joe Powell is unfortunately in the position now where he has to be subbed out for somebody else.
Yeah, and if he does play tomorrow, you watch first corner we have. When first corner it's first man, you just listen to the crowd straight away. It's just instant. The crowd gets frustrated.
It's so infuriating at Doncaster. Every single corner at first man, it was like, Jesus Christ.
But it's a joke when you look at a player like Josh Benson and you see what he's capable of doing. And look, Josh Benson's deliveries aren't like perfect; they're not on the money each time. But they cause issues, they cause problems, and then you look at Joe Powell's and you just think there's not even a chance that they're close. Even Dan Gore can put in a decent ball. So for me, Joe Powell isn't in the team for a set piece ability because it's non-existent. He's in there for his run rate because he runs the most in the team, but he switches off at the worst times. He defensively switches off. He has no real defensive awareness. He just runs a lot. And sure, it covers a lot of ground, but it puts Spence where Powell's currently playing. And I think Spence does a better job than how he's playing now, because I really like the look of Spence, but he doesn't get involved in games because he's too far up the pitch and he's playing out of position of like a right winger in whatever 3-5-2-1 or whatever we're trying to play. I don't know, whatever crap it is. But I think if you start a midfield three of Spence, Gore, and Yearwood tomorrow, and I think every fan will be happy. And Benson had a decent game against Mansfield, but I'd rest him, just wrap him in cotton wool, basically.
You could play him as almost, if you want to play Benson, you could play him as like a second striker, though, couldn't you? Really far forward. Yeah,
there's so many things that you can do as a with Powell, because he's that is our one position where we are fine. No injuries. Everyone is fine. You've got decent players there in even Kelly that we've not even mentioned, or McWilliams if he's back fit, in players that can come in and do a better job than Powell's doing. Because for me, all he offers now is running, and that doesn't cut it at this point, because I've not seen a player lose it more than him this season. And we know he's good, and that's not saying that I think Powell's a crap player, because I know he's a very good player and he's probably one of the better playmakers in the division when he's on form. But currently, he's missing us games. He's missing us. He's costing us some real opportunities.
Yeah, McWilliams should be back as well. Apparently, I think I'm right in remembering that Hampshire said he should be all right, or he's certainly training. I think anyway. So that's a positive. But he was poor last week, the week before last when he played. It was very poor. So again, is he kind of earning his shirt? We don't know. Yeah, Colette's injured, so there's no harm in Colette because I assume it's his hamstring. All Hampshire said it was an injury he'd done before when he was at Wolves, I think it is referring to. So it's an issue that they know of, and I assume are managing. A few people mentioning Jack Holmes, Tom. Feel sorry for Jack Holmes, but it's sadly not really a conversation to be having, unfortunately. He's just not. He's either not up to, well, I assume he's not up to it. Whenever we've seen, we've said, there might be something there. Matt Hampshire's come in, looked at him, played him last year and gone, I'm not too bothered. Yeah,
and look, weirdly enough, I wouldn't mind seeing him on the bench, but it's that risk and that gamble that you take with Holmes, because he can beat a man, and he might not be good enough to play consistently in this league, but he can beat a man, and he works hard, and he's full-blooded, honest player.
Mm.
Whenever I've seen him, he puts 100% in, and we currently have Martha, who's underperforming, and then you don't have another winger on the other side. You could play Denzel Hall there, which I think would do a decent job. I think if I'm managing tomorrow, I'd keep it compact with three attackers, and I'd put Holmes on the bench because I think, well, maybe not actually. I don't know. I just think that it's so tough, isn't it? We have a lot of good players now in this squad, which is why I think the injury issue shouldn't be coming up anymore. Because you're missing Thomas Holmes, you're missing Thomas Holmes and Sam Nombe, who are obviously, I think, our two best players, probably most influential players, definitely. But you can't be mentioning injuries anymore because you're having to leave out players like Jack Holmes and like Liam Kelly, and you're having to leave out certain players because there isn't enough. Sean McWilliams might not even get in the squad tomorrow, just to be super safe. You're missing out on so many players that Jack Holmes is just one of those players that isn't going to get a look in, and whether he can influence a game or not, there's players ahead of him that Hamshaw and, to an extent, myself and probably other fans think could influence the game more than him. But having said that, if you are going to go down the route of playing with wingers, which I think we have to add mobility up front that we just lack so much, and to get the best out of players like Martha and midfield players, and to make us look a lot more solid defensively, you're gonna have to play with a bit more with wingers, and then Jack Holmes comes into the equation automatically because he's one of our two wingers in the squad. So it's super tough. I mean, something needs to change, and I just hope Hampshire isn't too stubborn to keep going with this dreadful formation that he's running at the minute.
I think the thing with Jack Holmes is that he gives you that unorthodox option, because we got him from the non-league setup. When he got brought in, which may have been the only good thing that Steve Evans brought to the club, if I'm being honest, he just shook up everything. He was always, like he said, Tom, he's 100% up for everything. He was very good at cutting inside and creating opportunity. And last season, he was very unlucky not to score. He was playing that well. He must be underperforming in training or something, because he would be the perfect might be a bit strong, but he would be a very good option to shake it up in the second half when we have to respond to the other team shaking it up. I mean, look at the Wimbledon and Mansfield games. They shook it up, changed the way they were playing, changed a certain dynamic in the team, and they were all over us straight away. Now, we don't seem to be able to do that at the minute. We don't have that dynamic change to bring everything back into contention with the other team and to bring it back to a 50-50 rather than being on the back foot. That's the point where more experienced managers, shall we say, would take the gamble and say, right, let's bring Holmes on, see what he can do. See if he can play as a winger and get us down the line. See if he can cut in a little bit and upset the centre halves. And I mean, just looking at football from what Bradford play, they play a 3-4-2-1. If we need to change it up, Jack Holmes would be perfect at cutting inside, beating his man, and potentially setting up a ball into the box or a square pass for someone to latch onto, whatever. But we haven't really seen that this season because I don't think he's been given the chance. But like I say, that could be down to training. The management team see training a lot more than we do because we barely see it at all. But again, it's getting to the point now where us as fans are so used to the same thing happening. It's like, just change it, just tweak it, chuck him on, see what he can do. If he plays well, then, kudos, fair play, you've made the change. But don't, again, like I said before, stubbornness, don't be too stubborn to not change it or to have a certain substitute in mind and it doesn't change anything. Be pragmatic about it. Think on your feet. Bring an unorthodox player in. Bring Jack Holmes in. Bring Martha in, but as an out-and-out winger rather than a wing-back or as a second striker. Just switch up a little bit. Add a bit more dynamic to the team rather than doing the predictable second half. Oh, they've made a change. Oh, they're doing a lot better than us. Oh, they scored and we've lost. Again, repeating the pattern, break the pattern. Be pragmatic.
Martha's played twice for us on the wing. Once against Barnsley, right, and he scored, and he looked like the best player on the pitch. And the second time against Salford, and he should have scored 2, maybe. That's the only 2 times he's played as winger, and he's been the best player on the pitch both times. He is not, he is such a player. I just read a couple things about Martha in the comments, which got me thinking. He's such a player that will change a game for you and will play better. And to just keep going on this route about playing with players out of position and wing backs, and as you say, Danny, just keeping at it. It's just I can't fathom, like, you need to get the best out of your best players, and he's not doing that at the minute, and that's the sign of a poor manager and poor management ability, which is so frustrating.
I don't think it's a sign of poor management; it's the sign of inexperience. I think there's a difference between poor management and inexperience. But again, I'm sure to learn it, and unfortunately, with the demands of a few fans who think we should be competing for promotion this season, which we shouldn't be. The inexperience has led to him having to learn very, very quickly. And all right, fair enough. He had to do that last season when he came in as a as a caretaker initially, but we're now in the position where he has to learn quickly. And I think one of the first lessons should be switch it up. If it's not working and you don't have the players fit enough to play that system, you switch up the system.
Yeah, let's wait and see. We obviously play Northampton next week. That is the international weekend. Northampton didn't play the last international weekend, so there may well be a postponement next week, which might be a really, really good thing, to be honest with you. I know people say we might be cut adrift, but it's one less week. Another week for Nome to get back, and then it's another week on training. I know you've got all the Oldham game in between and the cup, but some time away from the pitch might be a good thing. And time away from us as fans, not to have a weekend ruined by Rotherham United, is also a pretty good thing as well. We'll get England to do that instead. Right, a few stats for you. First time we've played a league game against Bradford since 2018. Michael Smith's debut was the last time we played Bradford at home.
Bloody hell.
Scored in his debut, obviously. The last time Bradford beat us at home in the league was 2010. That would have been in the Don Valley years. So it's been a little while. And ref watched 4 years.
Never beaten us at New York, man.
Nope. In the league, they beat us in the Virtue Trophy last year in the quarterfinals. So yeah, but that's still. I think that was their first win in all competitions, and like I said, we've not played them for a few years as well. Ref watch is Ollie Yates. He refereed the Barnsley game last year at home. And other than Hugo missing that sitter, I can't really remember anything from that game. Memorable as they are. So yeah, there we go. Those are your bits of information that I have for you. Let's finish on some score predictions. I'll leave the table for a few weeks now because there's so many results to update. It takes a bit of time, so I'll update it in a couple of weeks' time. Outsourcing my predictions again, so I've gone to my sister this time, who hates football. So she's predicted a 2-1 to Bradford. So maybe she doesn't hate football as much as I thought.
It's 3 points nailed on for you then, Matt, isn't it?
So thank you very much for that one. Tom, what do you reckon?
What we're at home. I want us to see play with a little bit of directness, pace, mobility, show some resilience. Someone make a tackle that makes the crowd get up and do something, just have something. And I think if we do all that, we might come away, we might sneak it, we might get 2-1 win. Screw it, 2-1 win. And that's only if all of what I mentioned before happens. So it's probably going to be a loss.
Fair enough. Danny?
I think if we were facing a full-strength Bradford team without injuries and suspensions, we'd get turned over quite easily. But the main if and maybe for me is that their captain, Max Power, is suspended for our game. So that could be a little bit of a shake-up. Plus, they've got a couple of injuries here and there as well. Excuse me. So I'm going to go bold and probably get a bit of stick for this and go for a 1-0 win for Rotherham. Sod it, why not?
I thought you were like 3-0 then or something.
God, no. I'm not that made up with cold that my brain's turned to mush. I just think I could see a shithouse 1-0.
I like it. I like that a lot. Comments as you'd expect. Unfortunately negative. Dom Swift says 3-0 loss. Phil says 2-1 loss. Jerry Fabio goes 2-1 to us. Scott Kent 4-1 to Bradford. John Phillips 3-0. Duty was a 4-0. Harry says classic Rotherham 2-0 to us. Steve says 2-0 Bradford. Chris Sanderson says 4-1 to Bradford. Paula was going 2-0 to us. She says no, she's not been on the gin. Steve Grundy 2-1. Paul Rigby 2 or 3-0 to Bradford. Rob Dixon 3 or 4-0. John Phillips says, to be honest, he's got the Crawley game all over it again. No, is it that bad? Are things that bad?
I think it's. I don't think it's as bad as the Crawley situation was, but I feel like toxicity levels probably close. Yeah, I don't know.
I've not heard. And again, I always use the actual crowd that goes and not the social media crowd, and not even necessarily us that talk about it. There was obviously some discontent at Mansfield, but even when we lost to Stockport, there were a few boos, but there weren't many. Nobody kind of stayed around and booed or whatever. I don't think that toxicity is anywhere near those levels of Crawley. I might be wrong tomorrow. If we lose 4-0 tomorrow, I may be proven completely wrong, and fair enough. I just don't see those levels at the minute. I don't know. I might be wrong. We'll see.
If we are at the Crawley level of things being absolutely appalling, we're going to see a lot more kids being born in 9 months' time.
Yeah, that's true. Phil's probably right. If we lose heavily, feelings may change. Tom Case, there's no one left lately, Matt. That might be why. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. But the toxicity of Crawley was a lot of people stayed just to boo and be kind of aggressive. We're nowhere near that stage at the minute. I don't think. But again, I take people's point. If it gets silly tomorrow, then I accept things might change. I'm expecting it to be a decent atmosphere. Bradford are going to be quite a lot. I know there won't be loads of Rotherham fans there, but when there's a bigger way end, it tends to build up a stadium a little bit as well. Although Chris Sanderson, early Bradford goal and a performance with a 3-0 defeat could make things toxic. All right, yeah, I'm trying to be positive, guys. Come on. Feed me. Come on. Give me something to feed off. Come on. I can't disagree with anybody about that, to be honest, but I just hope it's not the case. Anything else you boys want to mention? Something positive, something happy? Has anybody got something,
something happy?
Something feel good?
I've got tickets to go to Northampton away, so if that gets called off, I'm happy.
Okay. That's unfortunate because, it's unfortunate. Everyone there, last game got called off because of the international break.
Yeah. That's going to be fun.
Anything, Danny?
I've built a new model tank, and that's about it.
Danny's secretly 55.
Yeah, but no, honestly, I am a secret 55. I build models and I drink John Smiths.
Okay. Good news for everybody. We're still another couple of episodes away from Mick being back. So if you're not a Mick fan, these are your episodes. Drink him in for the next couple of episodes because he's on holiday for the time being. And if you are watching Mick, I'm not sorry. Let's have a New York night, Phil. Thank you very much, Phil. Yeah, let's have a night. If you're going tomorrow night, and I know some people won't go tomorrow night, if you do go tonight, get behind the Millers I know that you always do. That people actually go to games that live in the area. Right, we're going to knock that on the head. Please make sure you subscribe. We ticked up another couple of subscribers, more than a couple of subscribers from last episode. We are now just over 90 away from 2,000. So if you haven't subscribed already, please do subscribe. Then we would very much appreciate that. We're still in the planning stage of what something stupid that Danny's going to do when we get to 2,000. I don't know what it's going to be.
By the way, there was no discussion about this. I've just been allotted this slot because I did it last time.
You volunteered for the fish last time, so I assume you want to volunteer for something stupid this time.
Yes,
maybe.
We'll get Ben to bring something really weird back from Mexico when he comes back, and we'll get you to
get tequila. I'll do tequila if we hit 2,000. Yeah, brilliant suggestion.
That doesn't seem like a punishment or a forfeit, does it?
Have you had tequila? Gee, it's like petrol.
A good one's not. A good one's good. A good one's pretty good, to be fair. Or Tom can do it. Well, we'll figure some out anyway. We're less than just over 90 away from 2,000, we appreciate every one of you that's bothered to subscribe and bothered to tune in. And that is Wi-Fi. It's been pretty good tonight. There were one odd moment or so, were just a flicker, but it stuck with you very, very good at times. So I'm very impressed.
I have had a letter through the post saying the government's installing fibre optic, so I might be getting better internet soon, but we'll see.
Fair enough. We'll see. We'll see what happens. If you're watching tonight, make sure you've given the video a like as well. Give it a thumbs up. If you're watching on X, which I can see a couple hundred of you are, follow us on X or go over to YouTube. The Scouting Report is up, and that's from the Chickens on the Loose podcast. They are incredibly positive. I asked him about their start to the season. Was he surprised about their start to the season? He said no, he expected Bradford to be in the top 3 this season before a ball had been kicked. So they are incredibly positive. So if you go over there, you can see a bit more. From we're going to say something, Tom, then.
Yeah, I was going to say, if it's in writing, I believe it. But if not, I'd have said the exact same thing if we were in that situation. So
that's fair.
Yeah.
If you're listening on iTunes and Spotify, again, you can also get the Scout Report. That is an audio-only podcast if you want, if you are that way inclined. But give us a subscribe, follow, 5-star rating. Again, whatever it allows you to do. We will be back for the instant reaction Thursday night sometime, probably early hours Friday morning, but how long it takes to upload. There will be an instant reaction out tomorrow, all being well, and then we'll be back Sunday evening. Normal service resumes Sunday, Thursday, because Sky Sports haven't ruined any other games so far. Thank you very much, Tom. Thank you very much, Danny. It's been something.
Yeah, something is the key word.
Exactly.
Yep. We'll see you next time. Thank you all for watching, and as always, up the Millers.
Up the Millers.
Goes for more. 2 for Jensen, 2 for Rotherham. Shoots. Ravel. Vicious, but brilliant. The sweetest feeling for Rotherham United. One's got round the back, and Richard Wood has done it again. It's done. It's Georgie Kelly.
Do me a favor, drop me off in